Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1485, and I'm actually joined by my mom today.
Yeah. Hello,
Yay!
everyone.
Yes.
Yay!
So we're going to talk about a recent powerlifting meet that my mom did.
My best one.
Yes, best one to date.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was actually your 10th one. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, it was your 10th powerlifting meet.
Oh, cool.
Now, you've done three bodybuilding shows before.
Yes.
Yeah, so you started lifting when you were 47, and we kind of tell them a little bit about like your first experience with lifting and stuff.
Oh my gosh, we started at zero experience. And what was funny was Rob was just a teenager then, 16, 17?
Yeah.
And he wanted a weightlifting bench, and we got it for downstairs in the garage. And then he decided he wanted to become a personal trainer. So as supporting parents, Joe and I, we argued over who was going to be the one to be the victim.
Yeah.
So I actually lost, but won in the long range.
Yeah.
So when Rob started training me, I was just that kid that was picked last for any sports thing in school. And I really didn't have a lot of coordination or body awareness.
Yeah.
And yes, so you actually started from ground zero. But when we went to a local fitness center, our school had one in the area, and I knew right when I picked up the dumbbells, I fell in love with weightlifting.
Yes.
Because my dad is a woodsman, and he had lifted heavy props and timber all his life, and he had big muscles, and as a little girl, like, I would hang on his arms.
Yeah.
So I think that was a part of it, but I just felt, when I picked up those dumbbells, I felt empowered, and as we went along, I found out I'm not too bad in this sport.
Yeah, you're actually really good at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were able to build a ton of muscle. You got really strong. So we did the 3 physique shows, and you did really well. I remember our first one, everybody was floored by how lean you were, and the judges were even asking us, like, how the hell did you get a 50-year-old lady that lean?
And it was only, I laughed, was because I really didn't know what I was doing, except I followed every order of Rob's.
Yes, it was amazing because I finally had somebody actually do every single thing I told him to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he even put up with, I think one time through the prep, I called him up in the middle of the night. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock, and I said to him, I think I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And he says, do you know what time it is? He says, you're not going to die. Just go back to bed.
Yeah. I'm like, you're fine. It's normal.
You're fine.
And then I hang up the phone, then I say a little prayer to God and be like, okay, hopefully she actually isn't dying. Yeah.
So I had a daycare, and even my daycare parents, I think they felt really sorry for me because they saw the weight loss and everything, but we really killed the show.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Yeah, you did really well. That was super fun. And then we got into powerlifting because you had liked lifting heavy, and we knew that as you were getting older, like going through your 50s, getting a strength base would be really good for just longevity of health.
Right.
And being functional. So we started lifting heavier and heavier. Then, I started wanting to coach people for powerlifting. So, hey, why not? Get you over into that. Yeah. So it was really fun. So now we recently just did our 10th one together, our 10th powerlifting meet. And cool. It was freaking awesome. Yeah. So my mom was going to read through a little bit of like a write-up that you have of kind of like your thoughts on the experience. And then we'll kind of interject in between some of the writing just with our thoughts.
All right. Well, this 4 months out, we started for the meet. We started June the 6th. And what was the competition? Is October the 1st?
Yeah, October 1st.
Yeah. So first, Rob sent me the program, and he wrote these his words of advice. And the reason why I included them is, you'll see as I read through it, they were very, very important. And he was being very, like, it was time to get serious. So he said, you'll need to schedule roughly 2 hours for these workouts. Drink Gatorade throughout the workout, about 20 to 30 grams of sugars worth of Gatorade. You'll want to listen to good music. You'll want to limit any talking or breaks, as that will reduce your motivation to get back into the rhythm of the workout. And the next few months are going to require good nutrition and mental motivation habits. And he said, so we can heal your body and be ready for the meet. And he said, if we miss the meet, we miss it. And I think you were saying that so that I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah, it was to decrease some pressure on that.
Yeah. So he said, but it's a good motivator to push through days or moments when you don't feel motivated or energetic. And it's a good motivator to stay focused and locked in during your workout. Because sometimes if you don't have a goal, then you get kind of, what am I working out for?
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't take it as serious.
There's not that intensity to push through the last, like the things that get miserable.
Right.
Like we know, like it's the reps that burn that make the difference, right?
Right.
It's the sets and the weights that you don't want to do that typically make the difference, because you're pushing your body beyond its comfort to get it to adapt and change.
Right.
But when you're uncomfortable, why? What's your purpose to being uncomfortable? So having a goal kind of gives you that motivation to get uncomfortable.
Right. And I think it was important for him to say, you know, you get people in the gym and the gym members become your friends and that, but when you're working for a goal and you've did your practice sets and you're getting up to those good working sets, if someone starts talking to you or you start talking to them, then you kind of lose out on the rhythm of those
you lose focus
sets.
on your technique. You lose focus on just like the whole movement, the purpose. You might mess up your rest periods.
Right.
So I've had people where they'll tell me like, oh no, I still time my rest periods. I'm like, yeah, but you're not even paying attention to what you're doing in between. Like, do you even think about whether you're pushing through your pinky toes? Did you think about, oh man, I need to lean back into the bar harder? There's so many things that come to your mind when you stay in the moment that even if you time your breaks, but you're talking with people, you're missing out on those, then that secondary thought process of how to refine things.
Yeah. So the biggest difference, I said, in this journey to the powerlifting meet compared to my last one was that I kind of describe myself as feeling solid, strong, and I made progress each week. No aches or pains, and then I could get under the bar for back squats without any pain. And what I did this time around is I really concentrated on form rather than weight. And I adhered to my workout plans strictly. I didn't add things like I did the last time. Yeah. And I got extra rest. I am lucky enough to get a little nap in.
You earned it. You're retired, and you earned being retired. So own that. Yes.
Yeah. And most of all, I finally tracked my nutrition, the calories, and the protein.
Yeah. So I think that's something to note is over the 4 months, you actually got healthier.
Yes.
You had less aches and pains. Like when we first started, we hadn't squatted under a bar in a while. So like to get your shoulders, to get your arms up on the bar and get everything rotated back to get a nice tightened back, your shoulders were kind of tight and you could definitely feel some strain and pain. But through our prep, you actually felt better and you had less annoyances through the prep. Typically, when people get ready for a powerlifting meet, they hope the meet comes right before something snaps or breaks because they feel like crap.
Yeah.
And when you properly manage nutrition, when you properly manage the volume of the training and sleep, you can actually heal yourself and actually become healthy and strong rather than feeling destroyed but still strong.
Right. And the last meet that we went for, the one before this, as a trainer, I was doing warm-ups and stretches with my clients, and Rob he kept telling me that that's not a good idea, but I thought, they're only stretches and warm-ups, I'll be okay. But day after day, they added up, and it was just more wear and tear in my body. And then by the time we were going through that program, I noticed that I was going backwards in my progress. I didn't keep strict track of my nutrition to support the workouts. And So 2 weeks out, you had to pull back on some of the exercises and
in the last contest
workload.
prep.
Yeah,
we actually had to change our approach in the last month to account for how beat up you were, and that was from like not tracking nutrition 100% and then all that extra activity.
Yeah.
So we had kind of like overextended ourselves by training properly for a powerlifting meet. You're going to use pretty much every ounce of whatever is disposable for you to get better at. If you're wasting extra on top of that doing other things that aren't directly necessary for the powerlifting meet, you either have to pull back from what you're doing for the powerlifting meet, or you feel like crap and everything hurts.
Yeah, and I added in some warm-ups and things
we were
that I
doing
thought
extra
were
stuff
good.
on Wednesdays when I told you not to do stuff on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Grr.
So on this meet, well, you know what? Sometimes you learn through mistakes.
Yes. So rather than doing what I tell you,
and I did okay.
we actually did hit PRs and we hit state records.
Yeah.
So we actually did well, but I had to do some magic to get that one to work.
But you did it. My trainer saved me.
Thank you.
So with all that being said, this one, I think nutrition played the biggest part. I ate around about 2,000 to 2,200 calories and kept my protein at 150 grams, and I didn't miss it the whole prep.
Yeah.
And that gave me the energy. My muscles were not as tight. My recovery was better. And I had a good mindset. And like I said before, I put more... I concentrated on form this time. I just thought to myself, you know what? Work hard on the form, and if you can get the weight, you'll get it. So I used to have anxiety about doing back squats. And after looking back over it, I think it was because my shoulders would hurt as I got under the bar, and I put too much pressure on myself. So on these workouts, I said, just do the form right, and you will lift what you can. Form will keep you safe. And as you had kept preaching to me before, to get the bar pulled down on me and to get it tight, well, I finally was able to find that. It's funny how you can go through the process of saying those cues, but then I think you finally find the right form. And I found out that the tighter I was, I didn't feel the heaviness of the weight.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, you have to get that back so freaking tight and actually, like, pull the bar down into you. And then it doesn't feel so heavy because you're so braced and connected into the bar that it just feels like part of you.
Yeah, and not to feel the weight was my incentive to get that bar really tight. And since I had worked a lot on my own, and I videotaped the squat for Rob, and when I was editing it, I found out the squat is just seconds. Like, it's setting up for it. You should take the time. But the squat itself was just seconds. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, why all this worry for just a few seconds? So, but what I liked about this time too is I was strong enough and confident enough at the bottom of the squats to retighten my abs, or as we say, hold the P, and to think, push knees outwards. And so I was able enough to tighten up more at the bottom of the rep, and I just popped right up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, getting those cues. Since, for example, you were able to reduce your anxiety and the worry of the squat, you then had more mental capacity to focus on something else. And your brain was able to pick up on body sensations to try to figure out, was this thing tight? Was this not tight? Where's my pressure in my foot? So it was really cool.
Yeah. And, well, I knew through the other exercises that you had given me up between meets that I could really tell that my hips and my quads were a lot stronger. And you get that confidence from knowing, wow, I did get a lot stronger.
Yeah.
So also with Rob knowing about me and my anxiety with squats and that, he kept in mind not to tax me too much with too many reps of squats. So we did other strength building exercises throughout the week. You build in stretches, the warm-ups, and other exercises along with the squats to keep me busy enough to get that that nervous energy out, but not too tired for the squats. So also I found out for myself during the breaks in squats, I would look on Facebook or something on my phone to take my focus off of working hard when I got up to the higher weights. But then as the timer went off, I said a inspirational quote, and I knew it was time to mentally switch back to the lift. And that actually helped me mentally.
Yes. Now that's something where, like we had said earlier, if you're chatting with people, like I'm not a big fan of that because your brain is actively talking or actively listening.
Right.
So even if you're having quiet time and you're looking on Facebook, your subconscious is still processing like what happened the last set.
Yes.
And you might still have this kind of realization. You're scrolling through, like reading an article, then you're like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot to push harder my pinky toe. I need to do that.
Yeah.
So the subconscious is still able to work even if you want to have that kind of like a down regulation of intensity between the sets, which it's for you it's very helpful to reduce like excitability.
Right.
So it's helpful to kind of disengage, but you want to disengage in a way that your subconscious is still focused in on what you're doing. So you're not getting so sidetracked where you're having a conversation, then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I have to go to the grocery store after this, then I have to go do that. And you can't turn it back on so quickly and easily between sets when you get that far off track.
Right. It was just kind of to say like a mindless activity to calm myself, like you said. And this was the best meet I was mentally prepared for.
Oh, absolutely. This was by far the best one you did mentally.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting.
So talking about the deadlifts, we don't really overemphasize it. What I liked is we did many forms of the barbell deadlifts along with the conventional. And one of my favorite ones was the barbell snatch grip elevated RDLs.
It's a very wide grip. It really works the upper back. Very challenging under lighter weight loads. So you don't have to do like a max effort conventional to get the good upper back stability work. So the snatch grip is a really good option.
Yeah, and I looked forward to doing them because you made such variety in it. It didn't seem taxing at all from week to week. And then we had done a lot of glute work in the programming before, and I knew from doing those that my glutes had gotten a lot stronger.
Yeah.
So that gave me more confidence.
Yeah.
And the other thing you had me do for months was the Bulgarian split squat. And I believe that was it. It was the one that really strengthened my knees. I really thought that was one of the best exercises for myself.
It's a very good one. Like for your body type, we don't have to train your deadlift. If you get stronger in squat, you'll automatically get stronger in deadlift. So we train the deadlift enough to have upper back stability, lower back bracing strength, grip strength, but we don't need to do max effort conventional deadlifts, which is why we got to do a lot of the variations.
Yeah.
And then with the heavy squatting, with the variations of the deadlifts in, that's enough heaviness for the tissues and for the CNS. So then you need volume work where it's not so stressful, but it still stretches the muscle. So it's not stressful on the CNS, not stressful on the joints, but you're still getting the muscle work. And the Bulgarian split squats are great because they balance out the strength of the muscles around the knees and balance out the strength of the muscles around the hips. So if you have a dominant muscle, and like for people, if they squat and their knees tend to cave in, that means their adductors are taking a lot of the strain rather than their external rotators, like the smaller muscles of the glutes. And they can have lower back pain, they can have outer hip pain. If they do something like Bulgarian split squats, even under lighter weight loads, even body weight, it helps to normalize and even out that internal, external rotational strength. So we had that in your program because it did help kind of, the term you'll hear in social media is like bulletproof your knees. Yeah. Is it just made every single thing around the knee strong. Yeah. So it was very helpful for that.
And I felt it. Yeah. And we only did one heavy deadlift before the competition.
Yeah. One normal conventional deadlift workout.
Yes. And keep in mind, it was 300 pounds. That was the only one I did before the meet. So what the lift that I'm really proud of because is the bench. I was stuck at 135 pounds for so long, but as I benched this time, I really got to add some weight. And we were talking about nutrition, and I think, again, that was with flexibility, nutrition, better recovery. That's what had made the difference. And there again, I was confident enough at the bottom of each rep to like retighten my shoulder blades and to pull my lats down in quickness. It's not like it takes a lot of time, but before pressing back up. And we didn't go higher than 145 pounds the whole time. But I knew I had a heavier weight in me, so I was anxious to go to the meet to see what I could do in that lift, to see progress.
Yeah, now for bench press, the reason why, if we chase weight too much, the technique gets lost. Just trying to like power through the weight or shove the weight up.
Yeah.
So it's better to stay at the heaviest weight you can do, but that technique doesn't feel like it needs to compensate. Like you don't have to like drop the bar in fear that you might not be able to get it up.
Yeah.
You know, or you start to wiggle and twist, you know, in order to get it. So it's better for us to stay at a weight that you could do technically perfect and just build the pathways, the muscle pathways, the contractions, the kind of mental process your brain had to go through for the repetition. Just build that in that pathway so it was more automatic when we went to the meet.
Yeah.
Your body won't have known a different weight to bench press.
No.
So even if I were to put more weight on the bar at the bench, at the meet, your body would have just went, well, this is the only way I bench, so I'm just going to try it.
Yeah.
Rather than it knowing that there's a possibility to strain or move or twist or the butt lifts off the bench. Too many people practice where their technique breaks down in their training, so then of course the technique is going to break down in the meet.
Right.
So.
Well, I was thinking how great it is to have a trainer that really knows you, because in our warm-ups and stretches, you had them just zeroed in on my weaknesses, like opening up my chest, allowing my shoulder blades to contract, stretching my lats. Yeah, and we did so many stretches around my hips that I had really good hip flexibility and mobility. And what I noticed was no sciatica pain, no upper glute tightness. And I can't emphasize this enough, but with all this taken care of, I didn't have the physical or the mental stress of discomfort or pain to endure or put up with while lifting the weight.
Yeah.
So, like, everything felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very happy for you. Like, it's unfortunately not common that people feel well during powerlifting preps. And it's not necessary that they feel so beat up, you know? So I'm happy that you got to see that.
Yeah.
You got stronger, less pains. And it was because you did everything. Like, you did what you were supposed to do, in the sense of you stuck to just the program. You ate well, slept well. You managed your nervous system, like your stress and stuff. So you did a great job.
Yeah, and nerves were still always hard for me. You said that you go to meets, and he's the exact opposite of me. He's so anxious, he can't wait to go lift.
Yeah, like I get there and I'm like, I don't even need a warm up. Just put all the weight on the bar and I'm going. I'm just ready. I'm fired up. So yeah.
And me, I'm so nervous. I try to think of ways to get out of the meet. I really want to go, but there again, my nerves. But this time, I think what Rob told me just stuck with me. He said, they aren't going away, Mom. Yeah. He said, you're going to have to work through them. They're just going to be with you. So on that day, when I usually get really sick and feel like throwing up and all that stuff, I told myself, you are going to feel sick. You are going to have to run to the bathroom. You're not going to feel well. You're not going to be able to eat. And Rob just reminded me to keep drinking and to get some fluids in. And so with that thought in mind, I actually learned to kind of accept that I wasn't going to feel good, because then you start feeling good when you get to the bench to your second lift.
Yeah, once you get a squat that counts, it kind of everything then feels okay.
Yeah, and I noticed that when I take food to the meets, I take brownies, and because sweets are easier to kind of get in.
Yeah. And you do want simple carbs, so it makes sense.
And I did take bagels with cream cheese because they were very soft. So, and then the one thing at the meet, I do not talk to anybody. So people will come up and say a little bit, but if they start talking a lot, I just tell them that I don't like to talk. And they said, oh, yeah, I understand. You like to concentrate on the meat. And actually, it just takes all what I have to keep myself calm.
Yeah, and it is. People do understand. There's still, like, just to be funny, there still are those people where you'll tell them, like, oh, I don't really like to talk. And they're like, yeah, I understand that. Usually when I'm pretty stressful, I don't really like to talk. And they just keep talking. You're like, oh, okay, well, God, I just told you.
And having Rob there at the meets, he kind of protects me because he'll just be my buffer. And when you're waiting at a meet to use the equipment and everything, he just kind of not pushes, but he works us right in there.
I get it done. Yep,
you get it done.
Yeah, we even took, this meet was close to our to Brutal Iron Gym, so we took our own squat bar and we took our own deadlift bar because I didn't want to have to work in with anybody or have to wait for anybody. Yeah. So it was nice that just be able to have those resources is definitely helpful. Yes.
And, I do feel something at this meet that happened, and it's just something that you can appreciate having a trainer, was people will ask Rob to help them, like at the meet. Yeah. And it's not that he wouldn't want to help them, but he doesn't know them, and they're asking for advice, but they're already at the meet.
Yeah, like that one girl, she tried to warm up with us, and... like, very nice person. Yeah. So if she happens to listen to this, you're a very nice person. But she didn't know what weight to use. She was warmed up not even at her opener, and she wasn't even able to hit parallel. Yeah. And then someone's like, "Well, what should I do?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's so much that it can't be fixed right now." Yeah. Like to tell somebody, "Okay, well, you have to go take 40 pounds off your opener. I need to teach you how to squat because you're missing several cues, and I can't do that and be the best trainer for you."
No.
And that's the thing is, I feel I have felt guilty or like felt bad in the past, but I've kind of forgiven myself for it because I'm there for you. I'm there for my client. I'm not there for that person. Right. And I wouldn't be able to fix everything they needed. At the same time, I would throw away the ability to help my own client. So I'm not going to do a lose-lose decision. I'm just going to tell that person, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And it does stink. You feel bad. But that does happen all the time at the meets, which is you're just bummed for. I'm bummed for the people that go to the meets without having a coach.
Yes, and you can tell, like, even in his podcast, as I'm telling you everything, the coach does get to know you and has to address not only the physical, but the mental aspects of everything.
Very true.
So, with nerves, you would think, why put yourself all through this? Sometimes I question myself. I do not like competitions because it's the stress I put on myself. I don't like to... You feel like you don't want to disappoint yourself. I used to do it for Rob, and that was a good incentive. But then I found out I don't want to disappoint myself. But during this prep, I told myself, even if things didn't go well, I had made so much progress. I knew how strong and solid I felt. I'd made a lot of gains at 64 years old. Whisper. 64. Not bad at all. So,
no, hell no. Great.
Plus, if you had your choice, would you ever put yourself out of your comfort zone? No. And but this is what builds mental toughness and character. And you need this. I'll put in a thing for the older generation.
There you go.
You need this because sometimes as you get older, you think, I don't want to put myself through this anymore. And you quit building yourself mentally. So in this aspect, it was really good too to go through this. So now we have a...
You going to share the funny story?
Funny story.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll share this nice little thing that happened.
Okay. So the day before the meet, my husband Joe and I went to get my equipment checked and get the heights of the equipment set. And so we gave them my opener number for the lifts. And so on meet day, we had gotten there. We did some body weight squats and hip circle movements and So then the adrenaline started kicking in,
Mm-hmm.
and we started our back squat practice sets. So we worked up to 245.
Yes.
And what did I walk out?
You walked out 255.
Okay. And then Rob said, there, 245 is your opener, and you just did it. No problems.
Mm-hmm.
So we waited in line, and it was my turn to go up to the platform. And of course, you get a little bit nervous. So I reverted back to one of my old habits of toe walking back.
Yeah, you take too big of a step when you try to unrack the squat, and it almost buckles your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I thought, wow, I am extra shaky. What is going on? And I was there like, you need to get with it. And so I was talking to myself, and Rob said, as you were looking at me.
Yeah, you unracked it, and I was like, what the hell is she doing? I'm like, it looks like you've never done this before.
I looked like I was drunk, and
Yeah.
Joe was videotaping me, and he said I had the biggest eyes ever. So I thought, wow, what is going on? So I really I talked to myself, got myself under control, and so then I nodded to the judge, and I squatted down and came back up. So that was it, and I looked, the squat was good. So we went to the table to give my next number, which was probably going to be, around 260?
We would have went like 247, because it's all in kilograms, by the way. So the number's going to sound odd. You warm up in pounds, but we compete in kilograms. So the first one was going to be 247, and then the next one we would have went to 264, and then we probably would have went 270.
Yeah. So we went up to the table to give that 264, and she looked at us and she said, you already did 270.
Yeah, so it was in kilograms. So we were supposed to do, I think it was 112, but we ended up doing 122.
Yeah.
And I think that's how the math works out.
Yeah, that's how we
But
messed up.
yeah, so she slid the paper to what we had just done, and she slid it to 122, and I looked and I was like, no, we just did 112. She goes, no, you did 122. So then I looked at my mom and I said, well, congratulations, you just hit a PR.
So
Yeah.
I was in total shock. We both started laughing, but it wasn't until I found out how much I lifted that my legs started shaking.
Yeah, then you like got nervous because you realized it was actually 270.
Yeah, and I said, are we done?
That was right, yeah. So after the very first one, we find out we got it. You find out it was 270, and then you're just like, okay, am I done now?
And he said, well, that went up really quick. And
Yeah, it looks pretty easy. Yeah.
So he said, let's try 275. And by then the adrenaline was up. And I thought, well, okay. So I really did go back with the intention of getting it the second time. But as I went down, I stopped myself, realized I wasn't to depth, then went down some more. But when I came back, it came back up, but it didn't count.
Yeah, they didn't count it. And it was more so just since you kind of hesitated through it, it didn't look confident. So even though you at the second drop, you hit what looked like parallel. It was just the lack of confidence with it. I could understand if they red light you for that.
Yeah. So then my third attempt, I really wanted 275 this time. So I thought, okay, just go down. You did it before, and I think. Well, you know what? It was for a state record, and so I think that it has to be almost unquestionable. But it looked at squats.
It looked fine. We got red lighted. We got 2 red lights, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So no hard feelings. The judges, I'm sure they saw what they saw, and it went. They get the call, not me.
Yeah.
So, but it definitely wasn't crazy high. You didn't struggle with it in any way.
No.
Once you hit bottom, you just stood right back up.
Yeah.
So it was motivating to know that the strength was definitely there. In a regular gym, that easily would have counted because it looked totally fine.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see that you were able to bounce back after the second one, and get your confidence to not do that double stop.
Yes.
You just hit the bottom, you stood right back up, and it looked great, even though it didn't count.
Yeah, and that's okay, because like the meet went really well and judges were really good and everything. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But Rob had kept telling me way before we even signed up for the meet, he says, you have a heavier squat than 250, 265 in you. And I just kept thinking, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't have the confidence. But this I thought was kind of funny, because it was like, well, we just did it the first time, and there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, so. And it's interesting. Like, everybody's going to run into this in some capacity. We've talked about this a bunch, so I'll just make it really short. Is in order to get stronger, you can get technically better. So you just display your current strength better. So therefore you can put more weight on the bar. Yeah. Or you can just get physically stronger. You can just keep your same technique, you just got physically stronger in your muscles. The other aspect is mental strength. You know, if somebody doesn't have great confidence, they tend to, you know, we know like the default position is to like coil up in a ball, right? Fetal position. So when people tend to not have great confidence, their knees don't rotate and flare out as much as they should, so it creates like less openness in the hip structure, so they don't get down as far as parallel. So for me, it was cool to see that you were able to address the mental aspect and be able to hit that third squat really well. And I was, happy for you that you were able to overcome that aspect of that a repetition. So it was really cool.
And what was nice is if you had seen my first squat, me moving around looking like I was drunk or never did a squat before, it was nice to see, for people to be able to see me like, hey, she does know what she's doing.
Yeah, the second and third one, you walked out properly, and it looked like we belonged here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that was good.
But one of the things of that is it didn't count for a state record because we didn't announce it, because we didn't know it was.
Yeah, unfortunately, what happened is you own the state records already in all three lifts and the total. So what happens when you want to set a state record in the USPA is you have to tell them you're attempting a state record. So you would look up on their website, you would see who the record holder is, what their number is. And the first attempt, we didn't think to tell them because we thought it was only going to be 247.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be 270, which was like would have beat your previous record. Your previous record was 264. Yeah. So we ended up, since we didn't get the second and the third to count, technically the 270 goes in the record books as you having done it. Yeah. But technically it doesn't go written into the books as being the state record, which is a weird system. I'm not a big fan of that system because it puts all the onus on the lifters whenever really you should just enter the data after the meet and say, okay, if this person lifted more than the previous record holder, they should be the record holder. Now I understand they have to have like state judges and there's judging clarifications and stuff. It's a bummer that that's the way it is, because even though you have a squat heavier than the state record, it isn't a state record. But what's nice is you still have that state record.
Yeah, that's cool. Yes. So, I wanted to touch on this. I am a Christian and believer that God is interested in things that you are interested in since He created us. And this really helped me throughout the meet because I thought God would want me to do well because He made one of my interests weightlifting, so He would like to see me do well in it. So when I went out for the first squat attempt, I said, okay, God, let's do this. And Rob, he laughed. He says, yeah, God probably didn't think he would have to do the whole squat himself.
Yeah, probably didn't think he'd have to do that much. He's probably like, oh, poor, like my poor daughter, don't have a clue what's on that bar right now. So he's going to help you out.
Yeah, so was 25 pounds heavier than we had planned. So,
but we trained well and we built the muscles and you didn't have any aches and pains, no tweaks, no nothing. So that's the benefit of the training.
Yeah, and you do have to, it does teach you to, if you're you need to trust Him, lean on Him, He will help you through it. Mm-hmm. So, so how did we do, Rob?
Yeah, you let them know.
Squat, 270 pounds.
Yeah, so we beat our old state record, but even though this doesn't count as a state record.
Yeah. And my bench
Yes.
154.
Which is badass. So the previous best bench I think you had count was like only 142 or 137.
Yeah.
So that was a big boost there. That was really good.
Yeah, and I felt good with it. And
I'm happy for you.
Deadlift, remember we only practiced up to 300.
Yes.
And I have no idea what my attempts were up to this, but we got 330 pounds.
Woot woot.
Yay.
Yes. And that's because I knew from the way you performed your squats in our training, there was no need for us to stress the hip, to stress the back. So we knew that was going to be there.
And this is what total confidence is in your trainer. I didn't hear the weights going out because it was really noisy at the meet and the music was really loud and that. So I went out. He just tells me, use your form, deadlift, get pushed through the floor.
Yeah, you'll be happy, but you'll be fine.
Yeah. So I went out and did it. I never even asked him how much it was. Went out and did it the second time. And then didn't ask.
Nope.
Third time, I had no clue what was on the bar. But I figured if he thought I could do it, I could do it. Yep. So it ended up being 330.
Yeah, and that beat our previous record. I think was 324.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So the total came in at 754.
Boom.
And beat my old state record.
Yes. So you have now this new state record for the total. So 754 is badass. That's really awesome.
And I was given the director's choice for best lifter medal, so that meant a lot.
Yes, we had at the same meet was the 5th best female in the world in your weight class. So we didn't win the meet, but you otherwise would have done an amazing performance, regardless of age, but especially at 64 to hit a 754 total is bonkers. So that was really nice that the meet director acknowledged your performance.
Yeah, that was
considering
nice.
That there was top 5 in the world person was there too.
Yeah. So this meet was, I still, how you still don't feel like something's real.
Yeah.
and all the numbers, I'm just the type of person that somebody may ask me a year from now what I did, and I could possibly get them wrong and everything. Yeah. But I could tell you everything about the meet and how I felt. And this is what made this meet so exciting is describing a woman, I felt solid.
Yeah.
So,
it's nice in the sense that another way of kind of saying that is you felt protected.
Yes.
Like you felt like your joints were strong and stable and that you could control the weight.
Yeah, and no shoulder pulls and no, hip flexibility was great and everything was just straight on.
Yeah.
So, do you mind if I give my inspiration?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
My inspirational quotes that helped me throughout this whole meet were, be fearless in a pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Exercise is a blessing, not a chore. I work out because I'm grateful I physically can. And then lift your best, heal, meaning God, do the rest. Mm-hmm. Fear, I like this one. Fear is the absence of faith. So if you say you have faith, then you can't be fearful at the same time.
There you go.
And I put just do your cues. That kept me calm. And this one I liked and I got to use sort of towards the end of our prep was show off your logo. And that meaning when you keep your chest up on heavy squats to get a deep breath before you start the squat.
Yeah.
Because in some of my practices, I had a hard time at the heavyweight getting my whole breath in before starting to squat.
Yeah, I mean, you have, way over your body weight on your upper back. It is hard to get a big breath in.
Yeah, so that one was show off your logo. And then this one meant a lot to me. It says, show calmness in respect to God and Rob's training, because they helped me all through this, and I couldn't have done it without them, and your training was spot on. And I also thought, you did the work, now have fun, was what you kept telling me.
Yeah, you did. You earned it. You earned this day. So there was a little bit of luck involved with that first squat, but you earned the ability to do that squat.
That's what I like about that. Even though, it was really shaky, and you could say, oh my, she just made it or something.
I think everyone thought you were going to die.
I even knew the spotters were a little bit nervous around me. But it proved to me that I can do that weight. So if I decide, give myself a little break here, if I decide I'm going to do another meet, I will know that 270, 275 is attainable. Maybe a little bit beyond that now.
Absolutely.
And so that was, and it was a good story of that.
Yeah, it was very funny. It's funny because you survived it.
Yes.
And you survived it because you put in 4 months worth of work to build the base to be able to survive it.
That's actually what it showed, because and even if I wouldn't have toe stepped back, it would have looked better.
I think it would have looked fine.
It would have looked fine. And
you would have registered that it was a little heavier than you expected.
Yeah.
But what really shocked you was the knee almost buckling.
Yeah.
So if the walkout would have been smoother, there wouldn't have been as much like chaos to the setup of it.
And the one thing, I had to focus so much on getting back straightened out to quit swaying so I could squat, that I wanted it bad, so I just knew I had to like buckle down and get it done.
It's like, I just got to figure this out. I gotta go.
But
so. I'm very happy for you. It was a really cool experience, because I know like this was I think this was probably the least I've ever been directly involved.
Yes.
Because typically I would have trained you, like before I've trained you every single workout that you've ever done. And then we started having where my schedule got a little crazier and I couldn't meet you for every workout. Yeah. And then this one I wasn't able to meet you for the majority of them. So it was really cool to see your mental growth with squats specifically, that you were able to have the entire training day all on your own.
Yes.
And it went really well. Like, you were able to just focus on the technique. You got through the program as written, and it just went so smooth. And that's a testament to you, because you overcame what would have typically been in the way of that.
Yeah, I remember that when I was getting to the heavier squats and you weren't there, and I thought, oh, I'm really used to Rob being behind me. And then I thought, no, you just trust your form. If you don't come up, you're going to safeties, big deal. And of course, you always want to come up. So I overemphasized all the cues and got so tight. And I think it was good for me mentally to work out on my own, to trust myself more, to have more confidence in myself.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I won't get too far off on the side of this, but sometimes as a trainer, like you train people as well. So when we talk about training every week, is I like to approach training as a teacher as well, in the sense that I want to teach people what they, like, this is their goal. Let me figure out how you can obtain that. Then once I figure out the pathway, I want to show it to you, and then you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
So the goal is for you to develop to be your own independent person towards this goal. And I'm more of a guide. So it's nice, like, some trainers want you to be dependent on them because that's, job security for them, but it doesn't grow you as an individual. So it's nice to see when the person you're training, the person you're helping, does develop more of that independence.
Yes.
To me, that's super motivating, because that's the point. That's what I'm here for, is to show you how to do it on your own, where I'm more of a guide than a crutch.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see you do that.
And as you train people, they get so much confidence when they come in the day without you being there, and they're setting up their squat or their deadlift or machine, and that's how they learn. It's like you raise your children to go out into the world. So
that's very true. It's a good analogy for it. Yeah, because I've had clients, like, people tell me, like, I'll pay you to train me 4 days a week. And I'm like, I don't want the money, because I don't want to train you every day. You have to learn how to do this yourself. Yeah,
I had someone ask me to train them the third day, and I said, no. I said, you need to do this on your own. I said, I can't give you I can't, you have to I can't give you this drive. You need to have the drive to improve yourself on your own. And I said, you have all the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I said, have a program for you. You need to do it on your own. You need to find the support within yourself to come in that extra day.
Yes. And I think that was cool because this process, to me, that was a huge part, like not only the numbers you're able to lift, but the fact that you did go through a lot of this, having to just trust in God and yourself, and it worked out pretty damn well.
I have to say, every Monday was squat day. I was sick.
Yes.
And it would just naturally happen. I didn't mean it to. But then when I got to the heavy lifts, I was completely calmed down and ready for them.
Yeah,
so,
you did a great job.
Yeah, it was a really good one. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we'll wrap this up. But if you like the podcast, whether it's today's podcast or the podcast in general, please consider sharing it. The more people we share the podcast with, the more people it can help. You can share it on social media or even just a conversation. If somebody ever has a question about nutrition or training, just let them know about our podcast and that we'll answer their question for free. Also, thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. The podcast is well over $1,000 a year for hosting costs. And I give an hour to it every day, and we want to keep it for free. So thank you to those who donate. You can do so at our website at www.brutalirongym.com. There's an option there for a one-time donation, monthly donation, yearly donation. Even just $5 a month, it does add up, and it does help. Also, if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. If you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything you want to know, let us know at our email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. So thank you for being with me, Mom.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And then, as always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.